Welcome to the December 17th, 2025 electronic meeting of the Ann Arbor Transportation Commission. This meeting is being held electronically, but we will conduct it similarly to an in-person meeting. Public comment will be via telephone or Zoom only. To speak during any of the public comment opportunities, please call 833-548-0282 and enter the meeting ID number 966-2488-9458 to join the webinar via Zoom. Let's see. The Zoom link is available on the published agenda. And the passcode for that, if needed, is 253455. The meeting information is also available in the public notices section of the city website and on the broadcast of this on CTN channel 16. So Ariana, if you wouldn't mind doing the calling roll, please.
Sure thing. Okay. So starting with Councilmember Briggs, please say here and from where you are dialing in when your name is called. Councilmember Briggs.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Here from Superior Township with an unstable internet connection, so I'm probably going to shut my camera off.
Okay. Commissioner Conway.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Dunlap.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Flewelling.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Hatamaki.
Here from Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Hulk.
Here from Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Jacobson reached out and stated that she would be absent this evening. Commissioner Keeler. Believe.
Here from Ann Arbor.
Thank you. Commissioner Lee.
Here from Detroit.
Commissioner Zecker. Okay, Commissioner Hutchinson.
Here from Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Margolis. Commissioner McCready.
Here from Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Reed.
Here from Pittsfield Township.
Commissioner Stupka. Okay.
And I believe we have a quorum, which is important because we have at least one business item tonight. And I also want to re-welcome for, I don't know, the third or fourth time, Councilmember Briggs, as Dharma rotated off and Erica rotated back on. So welcome back for the next year. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Excited to be back.
All right, approval of the consent agenda. There are two items on the consent agenda: approval of the agenda and approval of the minutes. Are there any modifications proposed to the consent agenda as presented? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Moved.
Thank you. Moved by Erica, seconded by Lauren. Thank you.
I'll second it. Oh,
All those in favor of the consent agenda, please raise your hand or say yes.
yes.
All those opposed, please say no or raise your hand. Consent agenda is approved. Next is public comment. This is an opportunity for people to speak for up to 3 minutes. Please call 206-33. Oh, wait, sorry, that's we'll have to go up to this. Please call 833-548-0282 and enter meeting ID 966-2488-9458. or connect via the Zoom link as described on the agenda. City staff will select callers that have raised their hand one by one using the last 3 digits of your phone number or your Zoom ID. In order to electronically raise your hand to indicate your desire to speak, please press *9 on your phone or select the raise hand button in Zoom. You'll hear an automated announcement that the host is allowing you to speak. When speaking, please move to a quiet area and mute any television or background sounds so we can hear you clearly. Ariana, do we have anyone who wishes to speak tonight?
Yes, I'm showing we have at least one person with their hand raised. Adam, I'm going to go ahead and let you speak. You will have 3 minutes, and I will give you a 30-second warning before your time is up.
Hi, Adam Juskevich here, calling from Las Vegas Drive in the 4th Ward. I have a few things to talk about today. First, I want to thank Councilmember Ackman for her service on this commission as she rotates out, and welcome Councilmember Briggs. Second, on Wednesday, I went to the Ann Arbor roadway right-sizing open house at the downtown library. After the presentation made to this body, I was feeling a bit pessimistic, but now I have more hope in this project. It seems like the materials presented at the open house centered safety a lot more than the presentation I saw here, and I'm thankful for that. We need to get this right, and I want to make sure that whatever designs get presented by the consultants at the end of this process are safe designs that do not trade off safety for driver convenience. We need to make sure that our city is following the principles of Vision Zero and that we treat all deaths and serious injuries on our roadways as unacceptable and preventable. I was initially worried because I did not see that centered in the initial presentation. What I saw was an idea of acceptable congestion being placed before safety. On Wednesday, talking to staff and consultants face to face, it's clear they are willing to create safe designs if they are supported in doing so. I urge this body and City Council to make it clear that we will only accept and consider safe designs that center Vision Zero. Third, I was dismayed when I watched last month's Transportation Commission meeting, where staff explained that essentially we can't fix this crisis through policy and engineering. It has to be done through education and enforcement. While they agree that education and enforcement play a role, I thought it seriously downplayed the role of engineering. I hope we all have alignment on basic principles of Vision Zero and safe systems, namely that traffic deaths and serious injuries on our roadways are unacceptable and preventable. People outside of cars are vulnerable, and crashes are inevitable because people make mistakes. No amount of education or enforcement will substitute for safe design. We know how to build safe roads. Other cities have achieved this. The US DOT Safe System Approach, as well as NACTO and the Vision Zero Network, of which we are a member city, provide guidelines on how we can do so. This is not pie in the sky idealism. These are mainstream organizations providing actionable policy and design guidance. Finally, I just want to mention that so far this winter, and I guess it's not even winter solstice yet. But anyway, sidewalk snow removal has been a mess. There has to be a better way than our current complaint-driven system. If we
30
aren't going,
seconds.
if we aren't going to have municipal snow removal, we at least need some sort of proactive inspection and enforcement along major routes where people need to get to and from their bus stops. Most people do a great job, but it only takes one or two houses or businesses that haven't shoveled or treated their ice to make an entire route impossible. Thank you.
Thank you. Ariana, anyone else?
Yes, it looks like Kirk has his hand raised. Again, Kirk, you'll have 3 minutes to speak, and I'll give you a 30-second warning.
Hi, good evening, Commission. Kirk Westfall, 3505 Charter Place. My main reason for calling is that I urge you to vote no on the Catherine Street parking removal resolution. I say this not because I'm against removing parking or extending the protected bike network. I say this because the staff proposal to use the $500,000 in quick build money to extend the Catherine Street Bikeway is drastically out of step with City Council's resolution budget allocation. In your packet, staff provided their own set of criteria for why they're proposing a bikeway extension, but omitted the criteria that City Council approved in their resolution that allocated funding for a quick build project. Some of you already know these criteria because you participated in multiple die-ins and protests to advocate for the money. and were present to celebrate the budget allocation. But for the rest of you, I thought it might be helpful to read excerpts of the actual city council criteria that you're being asked to base your vote on. The title of the city council resolution is Resolution to Prevent Roadway Fatalities and Serious Injuries on Major Streets. It goes on to say, Council unanimously approved an engineering analysis with tool design to determine how to reconfigure roadway space on 10 multi-lane roads to advance safety. It goes on to say, the Major Street Fund has no proposed funding to design and implement roadway reconfigurations on multi-lane roads in accordance with the tool design recommendations, and concludes that the money should be allocated to a, quote, quick build safety capital project. So what is abundantly clear from the council resolution is that this money was intended to be used on a major street, specifically one of the multi-lane roads that Tool is examining, and one that presents a major safety problem. Catherine is none of these. The individual conversations that have been happening since staff first quietly floated the Catherine proposal seem to indicate that staff are, in fact, not equipped to conduct quick build projects. There appears to be questions about whether a staff member is able to install flex posts, glue down traffic cones, or hire out contractors to grind up and paint temporary lane markings. Why didn't the administrator highlight this the minute that the quick build budget amendment was submitted to him in April? Admitting that you can't do quick build would have been an appropriate response at that time, but instead what we have now is a proposal from staff that flies in the face of the intent of council. It proposes a set of criteria nobody asked for and still avoids having the honest conversation about what it would take to build an actual quick build program that would save lives. I'm supporting people. I'm supposing people will argue that it's better to just go forward with the project because it's better to do it than not do it. I disagree. This money would help save more lives, even if it sat on a shelf for multiple years, if it meant being used for a critical tier one safety need, because the density of injuries is so low on Catherine Street.
Thank you, Kirk. That is your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak tonight?
There doesn't appear to be anyone else.
All right, thank you to the members of the public for attending this evening and speaking. I also want to urge commissioners to take a look at the emails that were sent to the commission. Those are in the packet on the agenda as well. All right, next up, business section of the meeting. First is the Catherine Street parking removal topic. First, I think we'll have Cyrus Nahidi from the city present the quick build summary, and then after that, I think the intent is to have a vote on a resolution to remove the on-street parking, which would be sent to council. So with that, I think Cyrus, I assume that the floor is yours.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Hadamaki. Thank you, everyone, for letting me present to you tonight on this topic. What I thought I'd do as a starter is just give a few slides of context for the quick build project and our selection process, and then talk about the concept at a high level, and we'll have time for questions afterwards, including we're actually, I don't know for sure. I think we're gonna have the Catherine Glen project right after that, so I don't know if we're taking questions on them all together or separately, but they're kind of tied together. So, so let me share my screen so you can see my presentation. Let's see. Okay. So this is just talking about the quick build fiscal year 2026 project. And moving forward, slide. Okay. So I realize I right off the bat, I have a typo, but May 2025, not May 2026. City Council has reallocated $500,000 to a quick build safety project. As noted by Kirk Westfall, there was a number of whereas clauses and resolved clauses in that resolution, but a fair amount of discretion to staff about how to proceed beyond that. And the biggest one is this first bullet, which is we understood that the project was to be implemented before June 30th, 2026, which is the end of the fiscal year, in which that $500,000 was allocated for. But of course, also alignment with Vision Zero goals, alignment with A20 goals, and integration into existing and planned multimodal, into our existing and planned multimodal network. So there's a number of sort of those are sort of the highlights, but that was kind of how we proceeded with trying to screen through different ideas. So staff consulted existing project ideas as well as brainstorming potential new ones. And this falls into a few different categories. So projects already identified in our approved capital improvements plan, the CIP. Projects through the Ann Arbor roadway right sizing, the multi-lane road analysis, several road safety audits that we have that are still in progress, but starting to wrap up soon. For Jackson, for Plymouth, and then for the Catherine and Xena Pitcher areas. Projects that were identified through the downtown area circulation study that was completed recently. So that includes projects like the Washington Bike Boulevard, the Catherine Cycle Track, etc. And then finally, we considered system-wide improvements. That could be a combination of pavement markings or hardened center lines to help with sort of slowing and squaring left turns. And it was quickly apparent to us in our early discussions that many project ideas are just not feasible to install in a short time frame. They involve changing concrete. They involve some level of analysis. They involve some level of coordination. And so going from start to finish in effectively less than a year was kind of a big constraint that we were trying to work through. And so with that in mind, the CIP, again, a lot of projects identified there are capital projects that involve concrete. The roadway right sizing and road safety audits also are in progress, and we're waiting on that analysis. We didn't feel prepared to be able to build a project based off of an analysis that's not complete. So kind of right off the bat, we ended up striking a few different categories. Shouldn't say right off the bat, but it became apparent fairly quickly, though, that there was going to be some limitations in how we had to proceed. So with that in mind, we collectively decided that the Catherine Cycle Track does fit various criteria quite well. In order to implement the project before June 30, 2026, the existing conceptual plans exist as part of the downtown area circulation study. Public engagement was also completed through that. There is alignment with Vision Zero goals and identified safety issue. This section of the cycle track is a Tier 2 corridor with crash history. It includes, I believe, one A-level ped crash and several less severe ped and bike crashes. And this is also building off of previous work that has occurred here. Two intersections at Catherine and Ingalls and Catherine and Thayer have been converted to all-way stops, and we've also installed street lighting to better illuminate those intersections. But the cycle track would reduce crossing distance and build our multimodal connections a little bit better. Integration into our existing and planned multimodal transportation network. So it builds off of the existing Catherine Miller cycle track and then the recent extension of the Miller cycle track to Maple. There's also the integration with the Catherine Glen Xena Pitcher capital project, which we'll touch on briefly and we talk about in the next presentation. And then alignment, with A20 goals, our reduction of vehicle miles traveled, supporting our existing and planned land uses. So I'm on this slide and the next, I have the sort of the conceptual drawing that was shared as part of the downtown area circulation study. We do have a more detailed set of pavement marking plans, but I think this is still a little bit more legible, I think, to read, as a broad audience. Here at the far left corner of the screen, the far west end of the project, at Division and Catherine, you might notice that the cycle track goes from what is currently along the south curb line, and the rest of the project it'll be along the north curb line. In order to facilitate that, we'll be doing a signal change to allow for an all ped phase, so that bikes and pedestrians can operate on Catherine separate from vehicle traffic, so that we're separating that conflict through time, since there's a space conflict. There's bump outs at several of the other intersections. So bump out at the all-way stop at State Street. So bump outs here at there. And then parking would be removed, which, as the resolution, the action item before you. This block, several blocks, so Division to State to there, on this slide would both have parking removed along that north curb. Although one side of parking would still be available for the State to there block along the south curb. For the next block, from there to Ingalls, likewise, we'd have south side parking available, north side parking removed. Cycle track, performing would be continuing there, and then continuing on between Ingalls and Glen. This portion of the project, there'd be coordination with the capital project, which again we'll hit on. So I didn't want to focus a lot on how this looks in this concept, because that's kind of still getting. That's really that this concept was designed before the capital project, and how it will ultimately look is really up to the capital project. So it's in progress. Another item that I wanted to highlight is that there's another capital project for Ingalls and Kingsley that'll affect the Ingalls and Catherine intersection. So the project would coordinate it such that instead of paint and post, like this buffer between the vehicle lane and bicycle lane will be a paint and post solution, but the bump outs and other improvements at Catherine and Ingalls will be done in concrete, because there's a capital project for that'll be coordinated and completed as part of that project. So, as to install the cycle track as conceived, as designed, north curbside parking would need to be removed for those 3 blocks between Division Street and North Ingalls on Catherine. So the action item before council would be to recommend or to not recommend approval to City Council of the parking removal resolution. So just wanted to give a brief overview before we move on to either that action item or the next project. But I wanted to try to get through that as quickly as I could, because I wanted to make sure there's time for discussion and related to questions.
All right, first up, questions, Erica.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for the presentation. I just wanted to kind of provide a little bit additional background as well. So one question I wanted to just get answered kind of at the beginning of the conversation, Cyrus, is this a major road?
Yes, all of our Tier 1 and Tier 2 roads, as identified in the transportation plan, are major roads.
Yeah. And so that was one of the questions. I just wanted to make sure that the commission all heard that. That was one of the questions that I had as well when staff had kind of originally sent this presentation or, recommendation to us earlier in the fall. I will, staff knows well that I was also a little bit surprised about the recommendation. And as one does, hopefully when they get surprised, they you know, take the time to listen and understand sort of the reasoning behind why maybe recommendations were made, which is what Councilmember Ackman and Mayor Taylor and I did with sitting down with staff and understanding. Again, I was one of the primary sponsors of this resolution on council, so definitely very supportive of this funding. And the goals of it, and very familiar with the background of it. Just by way of background, one of the reasons, in addition to sort of the advocacy that this was brought forward, and actually something that we were working on sort of prior, was just this recognition that we don't have this pot of funding in the city. And so we're asking staff to do work um, on quick builds, and there was no money to do it outside of regularly scheduled capital projects. And so this resolution was intended to fill that gap in funding and get us moving forward on projects. And, I anticipated that, like many, that this might show up on, I think there was a lot of conversation in the public around multi-lane roads, but the more I heard about this project and how it rose to the surface, and also the desire to get things built this year, I understand that and support that movement to try to get something done in a timely manner. We heard um, concerns raised about whether or not this is, a corridor that deserves our attention. And Mr. Nahidi mentioned that, there is a crash history here, and I don't think we get to determine what's, we know from our recording that there is, been one serious injury here. There's been 80 crashes through all modes, 7 bike ped crashes on the Catherine Street Bikeway between 2017 and 2023. So it does, and it's the top recommended project in the downtown circulation study, which one of my other concerns was, well, couldn't this be funded by the DDA? And actually it's outside of their sort of jurisdiction. So, without this funding, this project doesn't move forward. I have talked to folks concerned that there might not be other funding coming. I have talked to the administrator, and this is going to be part of the recommended budget, that there is more funding coming. So currently, I am personally supportive of this, and excited to see other projects come forward. And I think we have to, sort of address, like, what do we need to make sure that we have projects in the hopper. But I just wanted to lay that before we lay that some additional background out before the commission had some discuss this.
Thanks, Erica. I really appreciate all the background that you provided there. Very helpful. Questions or comments from anyone else? Pete.
Thanks for the presentation on this project. I do think it's a good project, and I'm looking forward to it getting done eventually, but it's really not the project that we intended. So on May 5th, that was the council meeting when Kirk Westfall and Adam Goodman and Mark Skirbo went and presented to council the hundreds of petition signatures that had been collected for the Safety on Stadium effort. And I went to that same council meeting to inform council about and the administrator about a pedestrian who had been seriously injured 6 days prior at one of the few remaining intersections that still uses a flashing yellow arrow to direct left turning traffic through an active crosswalk. So this night in May when we were doing that was less than 2 months after Joanne Rogers had been killed on Plymouth Road while trying to cross and get groceries. After that council meeting, delivering the petition to council, Mark and Adam and I parted ways at about 10 p.m. And then 2 hours later, Robert Murray was killed at the intersection of 4th and Huron. And what transpired in the next 2 weeks was a grassroots effort for safer streets. It included dozens of people joining a die-in at the scene of Robert Murray's horrific death. It included 4 different groups WBW, Neighborhood Institute, and the Bike Alliance and Crashes in Ann Arbor, which is my project, coming together in a coalition to demand change. And it culminated with the passage of a budget amendment that was intended to fund quick build projects to improve safety on our most dangerous streets. That's the 500,000 that's being proposed for this Catherine bikeway. Since May 19th, when that resolution passed, there have been 8 more pedestrians seriously injured in crashes. So this project might satisfy what council members intended when they wrote the resolution. I don't think it does, but I'll leave that for a discussion between staff and council about why the whereas clauses mention speed and reconfiguration of lanes on major streets so many times. I will say that this project does not satisfy the intent of the petition that was delivered on May 5th. It does not satisfy the intent of the dozens of advocates and concerned citizens and supporters who came together at the die-in to demand real change to make streets safer. Instead, this proposal appears to try and make business as usual look like a serious attempt to address a crisis of pedestrian fatalities and injuries in Ann Arbor this year. So I would like you to go back and come up with a bold and courageous project to spend this money on, one that hits hard at the real roots of the pedestrian injury crisis we are experiencing, which are high vehicle speeds and multi-lane streets with double threat crossings. A project like that will fulfill the intent of the budget resolution and the intent of the people who advocated for it. And I would like to reassure you that when you do come back with a bold and courageous proposal and one that promises to effectively protect the people who use the streets and sidewalks of Ann Arbor, that I will be there supporting it and supporting you. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Lauren.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I want to go back to something that Council Briggs brought up around some more specific targeted data about the safety characteristics that are determining this segment to be a tier 2. I'm a fairly new commissioner, and I had a bit of trouble trying to sort through the different reports. I think, at least going forward, it would be really helpful, not just to commissioners, but really to the broader public, as we do these quick builds to address safety concerns, that we're more clear and transparent about the volume, the magnitude, and the frequency of safety concerns. And that may or may not reflect on what Commissioner Hoke was just mentioning. I would also like to bring up a kind of somewhat related to this. So there was the right sizing open house held this past week. And as Commissioner Hoke mentioned, there was a big table for individuals to place stickers of areas of safety concern. So perceived safety concerns from residents along any street. And the largest volume was accumulated on the segment that's been identified for Stadium. So I certainly would have hoped that this would have been our first project. For Catherine in particular, the part that I'm having a hard time understanding is it's a one-way street, a one lane. And so as I was looking at the proposed design, I had a hard time interpreting how retaining the same one-way, one lane, but with the cycle track in place of the parked vehicles, how that would specifically improve the safety outcomes, in particular for pedestrians. So maybe if that's something that someone could help me to clarify, first on the data sourcing, and then secondly, more specifically how this proposed design gets us to the better safety outcomes that have been suggested.
I can speak to the second point a little more directly. So you're right that we are not taking away through like we're not taking away moving vehicle lane of capacity, but we are what the benefit becomes that from a pedestrian, there's obviously a benefit from a bicyclist standpoint in terms of an all aids and abilities network being more fully connected and extended. From a pedestrian standpoint, crossing the 2 lanes of bicycle traffic, there's more visibility and less exposure than I know a parking lane is not particularly in theory a dangerous situation, but it is there are more visibility and slightly more risk there than there is for crossing the 2-way cycle track. So
And
I think that
yeah, Cyrus, the other one also is at the intersections. We're changing the signal timing, which will improve the environment for pedestrians as well because of the cycle track. It's prompting additional signal timing changes, so we're having protected pedestrian phases. And the Glen intersection in particular is where this will be a significant improvement for pedestrian safety.
Yeah.
I have a few follow-up questions, but I'll yield for now for other commissioners to open the floor.
All right, April.
I'm sorry if I missed this. Is the money for this project going to go away if it's not completed by next June?
That was our understanding, that this had to be spent this fiscal year.
All right, any other questions? Yeah, Lauren.
Yeah, so I had a follow-up question on this. Yeah, so more broadly, so maybe this is better for a follow-up conversation. But I absolutely have a question of if it takes us this long to bring forward, I'd be curious to unpack like how could we move more quickly? Because certainly given our last month's discussion, there's quite a bit of room for us to improve the safety of our streets. And so if we look at 1 year and we get one project of just a few blocks, it makes me wonder why is 1 year so difficult? And I'd be curious to unpack that, and certainly I recognize if this is better to bring up as a separate discussion item in the future.
Well, keep in mind, we have 10 other projects that we have in motion that are grant funded, and we have 4 people. In addition to that, they have a lot of other duties other than implementing projects. So part of it's funding, part of it's staff capacity. But it also is the length of a project. A typical CIP project, any kind of project that's going to include concrete work or changing lane configurations or any kind of design that's needed, it requires analysis, it requires design, it requires public engagement, and then you go to construction. And that time period is longer than a year. So that's some of the challenge of understanding or setting an expectation that projects that require those sorts of improvements do take longer. And we were directed to do a quick build project within a year. So that meant paint and post. So that is why we did the best we could with what we had in order to implement it in the time frame given and meet all the criteria that still is hitting our Vision Zero goals, as well as improving the built environment for pedestrian safety as well as for cyclists.
Yeah, I'll just add briefly onto what Melissa said, which is this concept of analysis and design. I'm not a very handy person, but I still know the the phrase measure twice, cut once, right? And so I think there's sometimes this expectation with quick build that, you know, you still have to plan out what you're going to install. And ideally, there's a lot of things about, quick build that, especially if it's grant funded or, has other constraints tied with it that aren't as quick as, I would, have imagined. But that analysis and design is that, that analogous of, measuring twice, right? We have to, if we're going to make a change, even if it's a temporary one, even if it's a revertible one, we do still have to provide some due diligence about how to do it. And this project, having gone through, having come up through the downtown area circulation study, having, that conceptual design completed, sets, that really set this project apart in terms of how much further ahead it was compared to, as Melissa said, a typical capital project is, a minimum, 2 to 3 year project between, the design required, the construction, the analysis preceding design. So, our hope is that if this is, if there is, to Councilmember Briggs's point, if there are, this was obviously kind of 1 year of identifying we don't have a dedicated fund for trying to act quickly on projects like, in a quick build fashion. I think, once some studies are done, that would change. If this were happening, if this project, if this amount were allocated, at this time next year or in 2 years, all those studies I just referenced will have been completed, and it's possible there would have been quick build ideas coming out of those, and that includes stadium and all the multi lanes. So it's really that that preparation piece that I think sometimes gets shortchanged in these discussions. Again, the idea of quick build is that we can install something and potentially change it, revert it quicker than if it were installed in more permanent materials like concrete. But that doesn't mean we can't, that we still have to do some level of analysis to make sure that what we're doing, meets our goals and still has analyzed all the trade-offs as needed. So.
And one of the road safety audits is the Catherine Zena Pitcher Ann road safety audit that's become a road resurfacing project that is feeding this project as well, which is our next presentation that we have queued up, which also extends the cycle track and makes additional pedestrian safety improvements. But we're actually able to implement some of the recommendations that are coming out of the road safety audit because that report was the first one that was finalized. So we are moving quickly on that as well because we happen to have another project that is feeding this.
Thank you.
Pete?
I guess I didn't hear a definitive answer about what's going to happen to this funding if it's not spent on this project. This wouldn't be the first project that I've seen delayed. Those of us who live on Scioto Church Road waited for 5 years for it to
Pete,
get.
that is up to council. That would be a council decision.
Okay, so it would take a resolution from council to appropriate this money for the next fiscal year.
That is my understanding.
Okay. Well, then I guess I would like to move that we send a resolution to council asking them to defer this funding to next year.
So
can we consider a motion like that, Brad?
It's not my understanding that we can come up with a fresh resolution. I think you need to come to a meeting agenda with a proposed resolution.
Okay, then I'd like to move that we postpone this agenda item until we get an answer on a resolution to defer this money to next year.
Is there a motion to make the amendment that is there a motion to postpone this?
That's my motion.
Okay, is it second? I think I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, seconded. So I guess discussion of the proposal to postpone the vote on again, the vote is just for parking removal. It's for parking removal to support this project. So is there any discussion on the proposal to postpone this? Now, Kate, you had your hand up earlier. Do you want to comment on the postponement, or do you want to wait till we get, depending on the vote of the postponement?
Well, I guess it's probably relevant to both. I think Pete and Lauren, I think you guys raised like really good points that maybe should inform sort of future cadence, future focus, future funding. But I guess I'm just hesitant to take a project that's presented that is very near to where a serious injury happened and that would really significantly improve the connectivity of the bike network in what feels like a really meaningful way, given the volume of people that use the medical campus. As somebody who works on Ingalls, like it's pretty impenetrable by bike right now. And so I just feel like this not only, goes into that area, but then connects back to the rest of our network. So I feel like understanding your concerns, I just would hate for needing it to be perfect to get in the way of progress. And it's not to take away from your very legitimate points. I guess I just wouldn't in this instance want to hold up an opportunity like this for an area that has seen, real pedestrian issues.
Erica?
Yeah. Thanks, Kate. That reflects a lot of kind of where I came to as well on, thinking about this project. And I mean, I think this is a really good conversation that we're having. I mean, this is a really important one. It's one that council has to be considerate of as well, and it's one that we as the commission and community at large, how do we utilize our transportation funds? What's the best way? What should we be doing with them? Where are our resources? Where should they be put? And on that front, we have a plan that helps guide us on this, right? We've spent a lot of money to develop the transportation plan, to develop recommendations, and it clearly directs us in a certain it points us in a certain direction, right? We know which intersections. We know that we want to focus on tier 1 and tier 2 corridors. We have additional studies now that we can look to that raise the profile of additional roadways. I hear the urgency around our other corridors as well. I agree. I have been championing that and trying to move forward as much as I can on council to make sure that we do the planning and that we have the money and the resources to be able to act on that too. And however, I don't see what postponing this funding, what it does to get us closer to safety in our community, right? Moving forward on this one is a good project that I'm grateful for staff that working through and juggling through and trying to figure out how they act on council's resolutions, and we can try to make sure that we you know they have the resources that they need to be able to act quickly and bring us additional projects. And I think we have all of that in the pipeline right now.
Comment, Peter?
I guess, Erica, to your point about the pipeline, like I would feel better about this decision if I knew what was in the pipeline, or if I had seen a plan to be better at identifying quick build projects and better at building them faster, and that we had a long list of them that we'll be able to do next year, that we had funding to do them next year, and that we have the staff to work on them. What I just heard from Melissa is that we don't have enough staff. And that was not one of the enablers that was requested of us in our last meeting. If it was, I would be 100% behind a request like that to add heads to work on more projects like this, but that's not what I've heard. So I'm waiting to be convinced that after we spend the $500,000 on this project, that it's not going to be another project like this and more business as usual. So
Pete, we do
this
have a
is
number.
why
Okay.
I am not planning to vote in favor of the removing parking on Catherine. Sorry, Melissa.
No, I'm sorry. We do have a number of projects identified in the CIP that just haven't been funded. We have a laundry list of projects that we could implement that just haven't been funded. And so they still would have to go through analysis and design and then construction. So quick build means paint and post. And we don't have a lot of projects to paint and post. We have a lot of projects to construct, to make changes that would have impact. So that's part of our challenge, is having things in design and ready to go in order to be considered a quick build or to have ready if grant funding became available. So that's part of our challenge. And then the other part, like I said, we have 4 people to implement all of these projects. So yes, staffing is a challenge. It's just understanding the timeline that we have to work within. And we have a very dedicated team that wants to do all these things as well.
All right, any other questions on or discussion about the postponement of the vote to remove on-street parking on Catherine? All right, well then let's vote on, again, this is just the proposal to postpone the vote on parking removal, right? So we're not voting on the parking removal itself yet. This is just Pete's motion to postpone that vote. So all those in favor, please raise your hand or say yes. All those opposed, please say no or raise your hand. Okay, Ariana, you got
No.
Recorded?
I believe so. I believe we had 3, 4, and 4 against.
Okay. Do we need it? Should we do that again, Ariana, to get
Yeah, could we do that again?
So all those in favor, please say yes or raise your hand at this time.
Larry?
I said no.
Okay.
So all those opposed, please say no or raise your hand at this time.
Okay. Thanks, Brett.
Because I believe the motion to postpone fails. So now we will go on to the main motion of the Catherine on-street parking removal resolution. Did you guys draft up a resolution, or is it understood what we're voting on here?
Yes, I believe it was included in the package for this week, but I might be mistaken. It's a relatively straightforward resolution that just says removal of north side parking for those blocks between Division and Ingalls.
Okay.
So that'll be the second attachment under VA. So that's file number 252231.
Okay. Thank you, Ariane.
Of course.
All right. Any further discussion on the motion to remove on-street parking on Catherine? All right. All those in favor of the resolution to remove on-street parking of Catherine to...
Actually, I'm sorry, Brett. I actually did have one question. which is just since this is a big student area with housing and things like that. I'm just curious what we might be able to expect in terms of I'm not sure what the off-street parking looks like in this area, if I should anticipate that this is, going to be causing any other challenges that I just need to be aware of as a council person.
We haven't surveyed that in depth, but there are a number of driveways to houses that I think all have some level of off-street parking. So, but I don't have an exact capacity, and we didn't do a parking survey to determine, what was, how occupied or not.
We will be reaching out to the people along the corridor, though.
Yes, there'll be communication with them, but I don't have an answer to other than to say that off-street parking is generally available in this area.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful to make sure that there's sort of advance outreach to some of the to everybody, but making sure that the landlords as well are getting it so it can be communicated to tenants and in advance.
Yes,
yep.
That's part of our plan.
Yes, and I think just to build off of that, I think once if this does indeed go to city council and is approved by city council, that's when the rubber hits the road, so to speak, and we can start communicating that.
Thanks.
All right, so with that, all those in favor of the proposed resolution to remove on-street parking on Catherine as described, please say yes or raise your hand.
Yes.
Okay, all those opposed, please say no or raise your hand. Got it, Ariana? All right, I believe the motion passes. All right, thank you. All right, next item on the business agenda is the Catherine Zena Pitcher resurfacing project. So I think, again, back to you, Cyrus.
This one will actually be taken by other presenters here. We have
Mark McCullough from Wade Trim is with us to do the presentation. He is leading the project.
Thank you.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Appreciate listening in on this conversation, get a better perspective of the cycle track at large. I represent Wade Trim, and we've been hired by the city of Ann Arbor to work on a project that's been in the CIP now. I don't know how long, but for a little bit of time. The Zena Pitcher, Catherine, and an observatory, what we're calling a resurfacing and safety project. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. All right. Sharing that and going power. Everyone can see my screen?
We can, thank you.
Okay. So what we're looking at here is the cover slide of a picture of Ann Street looking east from the intersection of Zena Pitcher. And it says Zena Pitcher, Catherine, and an observatory resurfacing and safety project dated December 17th, 2005. So this slide is our agenda. It reads, we're going to talk about project goals and project limits. We will briefly start giving you a sneak peek of the road safety audit that was performed, done by WSP through a SEMCOG grant. We'll then transition to some details of Ann and Zena Pitcher intersection. We will then briefly talk about a small component of what's been discussed previously by Cyrus on the Catherine Street cycle track. We'll briefly go into project phases and tentative timing. That's in flux by the day, but we're getting closer to figuring out what those timelines will be. And then we'll talk about some the detour accommodations. So slide 3. Title reads Project Limits, and there's a picture of the medical campus of the University of Michigan. And there are four streets that are highlighted in yellow. They are Catherine Street from Glenn to Zena Pitcher from Huron to Catherine, Ann Street from Zena Pitcher to Observatory, and then Observatory from the roundabout south to a point just north of East Medical Drive, which is owned and maintained by the University of Michigan. Catherine Street is from Glen to Zena Pitcher, a Tier 2 safety corridor, which in the Transportation Safety Plan is a all ages and abilities bike route minor. Ann Street from Zena Pitcher Place to Observatory is categorized as a Tier 2 safety corridor. Then the other two pieces, Zena Pitcher Place and Observatory, are networks within the city of Ann Arbor. Slide 4 talks about city council initiatives and goals, and it reads Complete Streets, which was passed by council in 2011. Vision Zero, passed by council in 2015. And then the Comprehensive Transportation Plan, passed by council in 2021. These were the three primary bodies of documents that were used to figure out scope and what improvements could be incorporated beyond resurfacing the roadway. So sneak peek of the next slide here, slide 5, titled Road Safety Audit Final Recommendations. I was not involved in this study. I do not have all the background information behind this study. This will be presented, to my understanding, to the Transportation Commission on their agenda in January. However, some of the final recommendations that came from this study apply to the 4 corridors that have been listed as part of this project. So that's what I wanted to touch upon. So this slide shows pictures and text as far as some of the recommendations that came from that study. So one of them is a picture of a crosswalk. So one of them was recommendations was provide new pavement markings, freshen them up. So that would be, since we're doing a resurfacing project, that would be automatically included within the scope of this work. Second, there's a picture of a phasing diagram, and that's to tie to the concept of updating signal timings, primarily at Glen and Catherine and Ann and Zena Pitcher, to enhance safety for all intersection users. Third, there is a picture of a countdown pedestrian signal next to it with text saying that provide countdown signals at Ann and Zena Pitcher. Continuing with these recommendations on slide 6, there is a picture of a no turn on red sign on a traffic signal pole. And one of those recommendations continuing is to implement no turn on red where it does not exist within the project corridor. Another item is a picture of a cyclist traveling next to a catch basin. I like to call them catch inlet, storm sewer inlet. And the recommendation was to provide bicycle-friendly storm grates so that tires don't get snagged in the grate and then causing a person to be dismounted from their bicycle. Sixth recommendation was to reduce pedestrian crossing distances at Ann and Zena Pitcher. Now, it's very hard to see on this tiny picture that I have here, but essentially what this is a bump outs at Ann and Zena Pitcher at the northeast and southeast corners. And I can touch on that in a moment with another slide. 2 other recommendations were to upgrade traffic signs. So there's a picture of a no turn on red at the intersection on Glen and Catherine. So we would be, as part of this project, updating signs along the corridor so they have good reflectivity. They're current with the MUTCD, with the uniformity, and we have the right signs so that we're not overloading messages to the users of that roadway. And then finally, There's a picture of an ADA ramp at an intersection, and the recommendation was improve sidewalk ramps to meet the Americans with Disabilities Act. Slide 8 is titled Ann and Zena Picture, and there's a diagram and an aerial photo. On the left is an aerial image of Ann and Zena Picture with north facing up. And you'll notice that currently there is a right turn lane going northbound and to turn east on Ann Street. And then there's also a right turn lane on Ann Street going westbound to turn north on Zena Picture. After doing some modeling of the corridor using traffic numbers, we have found that those right turn lanes are really not necessary. It will not, when there's a need for them, it's good to implement them as part of a project. But if they're not necessary, then there's other opportunities to be able to utilize that space to enhance safety. And one of the things we plan to do as part of this scope is to increase, we're going to decrease the radius of it, but increase the surface area of the sidewalk at the radii, providing the bump outs using that space that was there for the right turn lane. This will enhance safety for pedestrians as it will shorten their exposure time to traffic while they're going from one corner to the other. Piggybacking off of the next slide here, slide 9, it is titled Catherine Street Cycle Track. And there is a diagram here that was an illustration obtained from the Ann Arbor DDA circulation report. So Cyrus has gone into a lot of detail into this. I don't need to get into all the text there because really the focus of what this slide is trying to demonstrate is in red. The dashed blue line is the cycle track in totality from Division to Zena Picture. Cyrus's group is focused on Division to Glen, and then my team will be working in concert with him to finish the cycle track in paint and post from Glen Street to Zena Picture. I will note that there is no on-street parking that's affected in this segment of Catherine Street. So the resolution that was just passed is not applicable to this segment of construction. Slide 10, it's titled Catherine Street Cycle Track, Glen Street to Zena Picture. What we have is an illustration, bird's eye view, and a picture. The picture shows what a paint and post cycle track would look like. This is not Ann Arbor, but it shows a cyclist traveling in one direction, two ways, a two-way cycle track with a buffer space between travel lane and the cycle track with plastic delineation devices used to separate the cars from the cyclists to protect them. The illustration is to demonstrate that between Glen and Zena Picture, there's 3 lanes of traffic. It's one way traveling from east to west. So the idea is to utilize the northmost lane to convert that to the cycle track for bidirectional use, leaving sufficient space and capacity for motorized vehicles to go westbound on Glen Street and continue whether they were to go north or south on Glen Street or continue to go west on Catherine Street. Slide 11, it reads project scope, and there are pictures here to illustrate the main type of work that's going to anticipated to be incorporated as part of this project. So the first picture is a picture of paving the roadway. Originally, this was designed to, intended to be a resurfacing project on these roadways. And since then, decision makers at the city have felt it would be beneficial to incorporate some of the outcomes that were identified in the safety audit to make this not just a resurfacing project, but a safety project as well. So Other aspects will be sidewalk and curb. So there's a picture of some gentlemen working on the curb, putting concrete down. There are going to be, third picture is a storm sewer inlet. There are going to be a handful of inlets for storm that are going to be reconstructed because they're old and outdated. There's an image of the cycle track, the fourth image, not Ann Arbor, but again, the same concept of a paint and post. The fifth picture is traffic sign upgrades, which we talked about, picture of a no turn on red sign at an intersection. That is, I think that is Ann Arbor. And then finally, traffic signal upgrades. This would primarily be at the intersection of Ann and Xena Pitcher, where one of the existing signal mast arms will be replaced because it's too close to the roadway itself. It's been damaged by a bus turning. So we are going to take the opportunity to replace that post mast arm and put in a new foundation while we're in that area. And furthermore, the intersection itself will be enhanced with the latest technology for pedestrians crossing the roadway, making it APS ready. The final slide here, slide 12, it reads construction detours. The emphasis of this, it has 6 pictures. The emphasis of this is traffic will be detoured through 3 phases. Each phase will have a subphase. So phase A, phase B, subphase. And what we wanted to articulate to anyone watching this presentation is, yes, traffic will be moved around. There will be some closures as part of each one, but the focus is not just cars. It's also making sure that cyclists and pedestrians alike have the ability to get from point A to point B should there be a closure that impacts them as well. So not car-centric, but holistically looking at all users as part of this project. So this is my contact information, Mark McCullough, City of Ann Arbor. I do have City of Ann Arbor email address. So you're welcome to reach out to me. I report to Nick Hutchinson. So at this time, I can pass it on back to council and commission and answer any of your questions.
All right, what questions or comments do people have? I can lead it off. I'm curious the planned cyclotrack on Catherine. How is the interface with West Medical Center Drive? I didn't see any. Is there going to be a gap in posts, or is West Medical Center Drive not going to be accessible to the vehicle travel lanes?
Great question, Brent. Yes, it will be accessible. There will not be posts that block off traffic to be able to utilize West Medical Drive. The details as far as what specific pavement markings and signs are still under review. That's why that level of detail hasn't been shown in a slide, but we're still trying to figure that out so that we maximize safety for this project.
Okay, so vehicles will still be exiting from West Medical Center onto Catherine as well, right?
Yes, ingress egress will continue as it does today.
Okay. And how do you foresee the bicycle cyclotrack terminating on the far eastern end of Catherine? Is it going to kind of go up into the sidewalk campusy area, or I guess how does it end when you get to the far eastern end of it?
Well, for this part, I can say is the Wade Trim team, as well as the city and the university, are exploring ideas as far as how cyclists can get from the intersection of Xena Pitcher and Catherine Street to the intersection of Ann and Xena Pitcher. We don't have the answers to that right now. Currently, this design essentially shows it. I don't want to use the word dead end because that's kind of a negative connotation. There are ways to get from one point to the other, but we're trying to explore opportunities that make sense for all the users so that we can get from one place to the other. And I don't know if Melissa or Nick would like to expound on what I've just stated. expand?
Expand. Brett, to answer your first question, right now we do have the cyclists going onto the sidewalk, but we're exploring some other options with University of Michigan to determine, as Mark said, if there was a way to also bring cyclists back down to Ann in some form. So that's still getting worked out amongst all of our partners. So we have talked through a couple different ideas, and we are hoping for some resolution early next week at the latest, so Mark can keep moving forward with design. But yes, right now we have the cyclists coming up onto the sidewalk where there's extensive bicycle parking right there in that area.
Great, thank you. Pete.
So I've got a couple questions, and the first one is, what are vehicle speeds there now? And what is our target speed for this new design? That's my first question.
I don't know. I don't know what the speeds are as part of this project, being that that wasn't part of the focus of my group, but it's definitely something we can look into and report back to you on.
Okay, thank you. I guess my other question is, can we control speed and calm traffic with a roundabout or with raised crosswalks? Can we get the target speed down to a speed that is less likely to cause a serious injury in a crash?
Yeah.
Consider that.
I am a big proponent of roundabouts. I think they are a very useful tool to be able to effectively control traffic speeds, and understanding that it's not it has its challenges for sighted pedestrians. Overall, it still does some effective stuff. That being said, Peter, I'm not visualizing any opportunities for a roundabout along these intersections just because of the magnitude of what it would take to acquire land to be able to do something that is both moving traffic, not making that the priority, but not making it worse than it is today, but also being safe for all the users that are through there. So I don't think a roundabout would be a good spot there. When I say there, meaning Glenn and Catherine and or Ann and Cena Pitcher. As far as a raised crosswalk, those have not been explored. I don't know if that is something that it's something we definitely could look into as part of our team and report back to the city and let them know our thoughts on it. But as at this time, that's not something that has been actively being pursued.
Okay. Just to reiterate, though, what I would like to see is that we choose a target speed that is safe and aligned with our Vision Zero goals. We've all seen the chart that shows how much more likely a pedestrian is to be killed at various speeds. So I'd like to pick a target speed that is as safe as possible for pedestrians where they interact, and then I'd like to choose the elements to get to it. That's how I'd like a project like this to go. The last thing I would like to observe is that the ADA ramps that you showed are sort of continuous arcs rather than discrete ramps in one direction or the other direction. So I don't know if that's just it shows the wrong picture, but my understanding is that people with vision difficulties prefer to have intersections that have ramps in two discrete directions rather than a continuous ramp down to the intersection, so that it's easier for them to tell that they are not walking diagonally into the intersection.
Agreed. So yeah, Peter, great observation. It was just me pulling that picture off from the web for the presentation. Unless I'm mistaken, I do believe MDOT still allows those types of ramps, albeit that shouldn't be the first choice if we can do what you've stated. And that is going to be our first opportunity if we can do what you've suggested and stated, and with good reasons as to why. That's the goal.
Okay. Thank you.
And we're still working out all those small details. We're not at a position yet to know exactly which type ramp would be at all corners of the intersection.
Erica?
Yeah, on that latter point, I completely concur. I don't personally think we should be using those anywhere in the city anymore. We've actually pulled them out in certain locations. We know from an ADA perspective that they are those fan-shaped ramps don't provide the guidance and that is preferable for folks who have vision impairments, and our Commission on Disability Issues has weighed in on this issue, and we've sought some kind of external advice on that. So I would hope that actually that would come back to the commission if that's the direction that for some reason we're deciding to go. But a couple, and I understand that that was just a picture you pulled and just not, you're not there yet. So, but
yeah. No, this is good insight. Thank you.
Don't want to dive too deep into it, but so
no problem.
Appreciate that. In terms of the termination of the bikeway, I understand that it can be challenging sometimes working with our other institutional partners on these pieces. This is an area where we know that there's a lot of need. And so I hope that we can come to some sort of conclusion around how we're moving bicyclists through this area. Obviously, there's been a long-standing call from the Walk Bike Washtenaw to recommending bicycle traffic go down West Medical Center Drive. The university has not been supportive of that to date, but that was recommended because it is a low stress street. And, despite the university selling parking on the sidewalk there, apparently, there's really a lot of opportunity on that street. But I understand that that is a university controlled roadway, and so we don't have control over that. But on our city streets, I'm hoping that we are able to make sure that we are moving creating a connected facility through this. Finally, if I wanted to go back to the scope of this a little bit, because I was a little bit surprised that Anne and Glenn are not a part of that intersection. And just that is one of our tier 1 focus intersections and so close to this area. So could you share a little bit more about why that's not in the scope, or maybe that's...
I'd have to defer to Mr. Hutchinson on that. I don't know the backstory behind how these projects were chosen.
Yeah, there's a long history here. This project was originally only the Xena Pitcher Catherine. The block of Anne furthest to the west was added. It was part of an agreement with the university when they built the Con Pavilion. They replaced, at our request, extra water main that didn't need to be done there. And in exchange, we said we would do the resurfacing of the road once the time was right to do that. So we were going to do that last year on that one block of Ann Street, but it wasn't going to work from the timing from their project. So we postponed it to this year and combined it with that project. So that's why we're not looking at Ann and Glenn. The resurfacing project doesn't go all the way to Ann and Glenn. There is a future Ann Street project. I think it's for 2028 that goes from, I think, Division
all the way to Xena Pitcher.
Yeah, all the way to Xena Pitcher. So that intersection will be included in a future project.
Okay. It's always hard when you see we're working so close to one of our, top intersections. It's been called out. Okay. Thank you for that background. Appreciate it.
Melissa?
Excuse me. Cynthia has been dealing with a health issue, but I was able to ask about the design speed, Pete, to address your question. And the design speed for the street is 25 miles per hour.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions or comments on this? We're moving on. All right, thank you very much, Mark and Widtrum, for coming to the meeting and walking us through this. I look forward to seeing the progress over the next year or two here.
Thank you very much.
All right, next up is so there's no vote on that, but the next topic is a calendar approval topic, which actually I'm not sure if we'll have a vote on that, but at a minimum, Ariana is going to present our 2026 proposed commission calendar. So Ariana.
Thanks, Brett. Let me go ahead and just share my screen really quick. This is included in your agenda packet, but I just wanted to take this opportunity to pull this up for everybody. Is everyone able to see this?
Yep.
Thank you. So here you're able to see the proposed schedule for next year. The one thing I wanted to note is that we at this time are not planning to have a December meeting for the 2026 year due to just the holiday season and people's schedules. We understand that people can't make it due to those reasons. We just wanted to get ahead of that. So I believe we do need to vote on the calendar before I can get this into Legistar for everybody to see for next year. But if there are any questions, concerns that want to be discussed now, right now this is the same schedule that we've done this past year and previous years, which is every third Wednesday of the month.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Pete?
I guess I'd like to propose some in-person meetings. Is there anything inhibiting us from doing that?
I'm not sure if I can speak on that, but I believe at this time we're mostly discussing just the timing of the meetings versus the format,
Okay.
at least at this time. But that is something that we can discuss further.
Well, maybe I will just ask that to be a future agenda topic.
Yeah, I agree, Pete. It's something I've kind of floated. I kind of do that once a year. We get various levels of appetite for it. The main, just to address it before we move on, really the main two obstacles that repeatedly come up are facilities or CTN support in chambers, and the other is allowing for people to call in via Zoom, and being able to support in person and Zoom. It's just it's not that it's impossible because city council does it, but also city council and planning are, I think, the only two that do it. So I've just received a little bit of pushback over the years on that, but I would be fully in support of some in-person meetings as well. So yeah, we'll find a way to have a discussion on this. Erica?
Yeah, I was just going to concur. I've noticed that I think it's great to have these virtual meetings for so many different reasons. I think it enables a lot of participation. It's a lot easier for folks for a lot of different reasons. I think it places less of a burden on our folks who are volunteering for these commissions as well. However, I've noticed with some of my commissions that are having a little bit more of a hybrid schedule, it's just really nice to get together face to face and have those connections and at least, once a year, if we can figure out how to make that happen, even if that, hopefully we can, figure out, something where that works out, even if that challenges our participants of our remote participants for one meeting.
Okay, yeah, I would like to take that on as a project. Yeah, I might be in touch with you, Erica, then to who to talk to as far as it might be Jackie Beaudry or somebody like that to try to organize something. Because I would love to have at least one or some as well. I didn't realize the other commissions were already doing that. The last time I had inquired, nobody other than like the state mandated ones were. So
My airport commission, which is my furthest one to get to on bike, has gone back to half and half. So
Does that one meet at the airport or something?
it does. It does. In fact, usually I'll get to move between airport. In fact, this is more information than all of you need about my life on Wednesdays. But on Wednesdays, I have Watts in the morning, followed by Airport Advisory Commission, and then Transportation Commission. So every couple of months, it's a transportation city packed day. But I look forward to seeing you guys in person someday. And also, one thing that we've done in some commissions where it's been a little challenging is just to do an informal get together at some point, and non-commissioned business. And that is something we could do in an interim, and I'd be happy to propose that too.
Great, thanks. All right, so yeah, sorry for the aside. Thanks for bringing that up, though, Pete. I'm in support as well. So anyway, as far as the proposed meeting dates here,
Larry, do you have a comment?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just pretty much agreeing with Commissioner Briggs, but we just had one of the hybrid meetings today, and it seemed to work out quite well. And I've been involved in another one for LAC. It was just too doggone cold to go this time, so I stayed home, and that was good too. So I think the hybrids work out pretty good when they work out.
All right, that's great input that I wasn't aware of. So thank you. All right. So yeah, the proposed dates here, the no December meeting, that's a first for me in my Wednesday would be, like Christmas Eve or something like that, or I'm pulling up the calendar right now. Well, it would be the 16th. So I mean, I guess I'm okay with it. It's just sometimes in the summer we have to cancel a meeting due to low attendance, like the August meetings sometimes. So I just didn't want to. My only concern is overloading the agenda for all the other meetings. But if everyone else is okay with it and staff is okay with it, then that's fine with me as well. So any other comments, questions? All right, well then let's vote on agreeing to or aligning with the proposed dates for 2026 for our Transportation Commission meetings. So do you want to go to okay. For the purposes of voting, Ariana, I think we probably want to see everybody. There we go. All right, so all those in favor, please say yes or raise your hand.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no or raise your hand. I think Wanwu, your hand was up from previously to say yes, right?
Yes. Yep. Sorry about that. Thanks.
All right, so the calendar passes for 2026. All right, next up, crash data clarification topic, led by Melissa.
Thanks, Brett. I just wanted to circle back from the presentation that Cynthia gave last month on our annual crash data report that we typically give every year. There seems to be a little misunderstanding, and I wanted to make sure that the main point of the presentation that seemed to have been missed is we were really trying to point out that we have seen a 35% decrease in overall crashes since 2016. And a lot of that is tied to the improvements that we've been able to make through our Vision Zero efforts and through all the changes to the built environment that have been made over the last 10 years. So that was one of the points I wanted to make sure everybody heard. And then also that the crashes that we are finding our biggest challenge are really influenced by dangerous behaviors. They're outlined in our Vision Zero plan, the A2 Moving Together plan. And those are found on page 31 through 33 in the plan, and talking about how focusing on infrastructure improvements, and it's a systemic approach. And that is what we are doing, and we are still committed to doing. So I wanted to make that perfectly clear that nothing has changed. We were just making sure that everybody saw the crash data and that we were presenting it. The other thing I wanted to make sure everyone understood is how we approach analyzing the crashes. We do meet with the police department every month, and we look at all of the serious injuries and fatalities, and we look at anything that can be done immediately to improve the crash environment to be safer. And we make those improvements immediately. We also identify near-term and long-term improvements that can be implemented, and we put them into CIP projects, and we implement them through other projects whenever the opportunity presents itself. So we're identifying and improving the built environment wherever we can through different projects. And some of the short-term, near-term fixes that we do include things like signal timing, freshening pavement markings, paint and post, if we need some targeted enforcement, doing some additional education. So we are constantly looking at the crash data, and we are constantly looking for ways to improve it and to get it into other projects to address those crash causes. Additionally, in February, we are bringing forward the Vision Zero annual update that we provide every year. And in March, staff has been compiling the 5-year overview of looking at our near and midterm goals, and tying all of the projects that have been implemented, and the impacts of those projects will be presented in a report in March. So I just wanted to clarify how we're looking at the data and how we're using it to inform and address the crash causes through all of our Vision Zero E's. And I just wanted to make sure that people understood that we have been making progress. And I think we missed the mark on the message. So I just wanted to bring that forward again to make the point clear. And we left a little bit of time on the agenda in case there were any further questions regarding the data or how it was presented. And if not, then we also have another presentation from Trevor, who has the Washington Bike Boulevard.
Thank you very much, Melissa, for bringing this forward again and offering opportunity for any other comments or questions before we move on to the Washington Bike Boulevard. Pete?
Well, thanks for the clarification, Melissa. You mentioned that crashes have gone down by 35%. Is that what you said? I can't
Since
remember.
2016.
26. Since 2016. Okay.
All crashes overall, the number of crashes total.
Okay. I guess I would just like to reiterate that our Vision Zero goal is focused on serious and fatal crashes and reducing those.
Absolutely.
I'd also like to ask about the crash analysis that you're doing in conjunction with AAPD. So were there any crashes that you guys looked at for the month of November?
No, there were no serious injuries or fatalities in November or December so far.
The city administrator's report lists an A-level pedestrian crash in November and an A-level bicycle crash in November. Is there a different definition for what counts as serious besides the K, A, B, C, D that you guys are using?
No, we are looking at the A-level crashes, and the police department classifies the serious injuries and fatalities a little differently than that, separates them out from all of the A-level. So there's a nuance within the A-level crashes.
Okay. Can you share what qualifies a crash as a serious crash then, if it's not the criteria that's in Michigan's standardized reporting methodology, the UD10?
That I would need Cynthia to help with. We do use all the UD10 reports, and we do meet with the police department.
It would be okay if you brought that back, but I'm
Yeah,
very
I'd have to have Cynthia speak to that. I'm still 3 months in, Pete. I'm still learning it all.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Erica.
I just wanted to say thanks for those additional points that you brought forward, and glad to hear that there's additional reports that are coming in February and March, and I think the March one will be a particularly interesting one as we kind of do that backward 5-year look, and I think that's one that we've been, a lot of folks have been, we're this is a big year for us, 2025, and it'll be good to see that progress. I think one of the pieces on that, particularly because of the COVID time period, within that, maybe this is the 5-year report is just fine, but if there's some additional nuance that is helpful for us as we're kind of in this time period of reflecting upon the fact that we just didn't, we didn't meet Vision Zero. And what's that look like? Where are we making progress? Where are we not? I think there were some good, I listened to the presentation from last month, and I know there were some questions at the end of that presentation that commissioners had asked, and I think some of that's going to be brought forward in kind of February and March. But if we could just make sure that those get integrated into those, subsequent presentations, I think that would be important for us to do. I've been doing a lot of cities, as everybody on the screen knows, are doing the same sort of soul searching right now. Been on checking out the post on Vision Zero Network and Street Blog, and Austin had a big analysis of their own sort of progress on these things as well. And so there's a lot to be celebrated about what we are doing, but there's a lot to be learned. And I think that's where we're at too, as in terms of as we think about, what sort of investments to be making. We all want to be making sure we're putting our money into the right things, and um, uh, not doubling down on stuff that just hasn't shown safety benefits. There's nothing. There's It's taken us 100 years to build this system, and we're all learning about how we reconstruct it. And I just want to thank all the staff members here for all of their work. It is really, really tough to be doing the jobs that you're doing. And so thank you for that. And trying to work on a daily basis to make our city safer. And thanks to all the commissioners here who are dedicating your time to try to push us to go faster, and providing that really necessary input that we need as council members, because you guys get to dig into this data a lot more than we do at the council table sometimes. So thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? I feel the need to ask to seek clarification, Melissa, from you based on things that are going around. Does transportation engineering staff, have they given up responsibility for keeping people safe in Ann Arbor?
You're asking me that question?
Based on things that are going around, yes. I wish I want to
have we given up on
clarification from you.
No, we have not given up.
To say things like staff has given up responsibility for keeping people safe in Ann Arbor. Do you agree with that or not?
I do not agree with that.
Okay, I don't either. I really appreciate the staff that's here and that's here every month. I just appreciate the clarification that all of the E's are important, and the staff is still full speed ahead on engineering and implementing our projects with Vision Zero in mind. And I think you have a lot of people supporting you, behind you, that want to keep encouraging all of the E's, especially engineering. But thank you for clarifying that you guys are not giving up on engineering, or
nope.
for that matter. So,
Brett, I've been doing this work for 25 years. I'm not giving up now.
Appreciate the clarification. I guess it was needed.
Thank you.
All right, moving on then. Next agenda topic. Washington.
We still have one hand up, Brett. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh yeah, sorry, Lauren.
Oh, Brett, could you clarify? Is this commission member communications? So broad communications? Oh,
It was emailed. I mean, today, I think, but it's. I think I got it directly. I was BCC'd. I'm not sure who else was, but it is also sent to the whole commission. So if it didn't show up in the packet this month, we'll see it in next month's packet.
okay. I just wanted to make one brief call out. I love hearing the clarification, and I'm absolutely looking forward to the upcoming reports in the new calendar year. A general call out to the community that may be watching this, if safety is a concern to you, just a reminder that the Right Sizing Road project still has an open survey. So there's one more week for folks to be able to participate and to be able to voice their opinions. So I just want to make sure folks are aware of that.
Yeah, thanks for voicing that. I can't remember exactly when it closes. I think it's this Friday, maybe, or
Yes.
yeah, this Friday. So yeah, definitely get out there and seek out that the road right sizing survey, please. All right. So I think so. We were slated 10 minutes for the Washington Bike Boulevard presentation. Trevor, do you think that's doable, or I'll leave it to Trevor and Melissa if you think we should push it to January, but we can certainly try to do it now.
Trevor claims he can do the presentation in 5 minutes.
That is the
Let's do it.
that was my charge. I think 10 is a more likely estimate, but I can give it a good shot if people still have the attention for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Floor is yours.
All right, I'm going to attempt to share my screen. All right. Does everyone see a full panel screen that says Washington Bike Boulevard and the Ann Arbor moving together?
Yep, looks good.
Excellent. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Trevor Bryden. I am a transportation planner in the transportation department at the city of Ann Arbor. And this is a presentation about the Washington Bike Boulevard, which I'm going to give a brief outline for what I'll talk about. I'll briefly talk about what is a bike boulevard because we haven't implemented one yet in the city and it can be kind of mysterious. I will go over why West Washington Street, some conditions and considerations about West Washington, and then the project approach. So first of all, what is a bike boulevard? So on the screen is a picture with a tree-lined street with cars parked on either side and a gentleman on a bike approaching a traffic divider that allows for bikes to go through, but cars to only come out one side, and a sign that says "Don't enter except if you're a bicycle." And so bike boulevards are a type of treatment that is applied to local streets being streets that are operating at 25 miles an hour or less and have less than 3,000 vehicles per day. These are streets in which cyclists and motorists share spaces because the speed is low and the volume is low. It's more comfortable for people to be both riding bikes and driving vehicles in the same space. So a bike boulevard has design features that discourage vehicular through trips, and so tries to filter out some of the vehicles that may be using the street if not otherwise discouraged. Bike boulevards have design features that encourage safe speeds, and so try to find ways for vehicular traffic calming to keep it nice and calm. And then it also has designed features that have clear signs and markings that facilitate a comfortable experience for a person biking. There's guidance out there for bikeway selection. We follow several guidance. One of them is NACTIV, the North American Association of Cities, and I'm gonna mess up that title, but it is one of the many guides that we follow. It was mentioned earlier this evening, and we have a table down below that shows various roadway contexts for target motor vehicle speeds, max volumes, motor vehicle lanes, key operational considerations, and then what type of all ages and abilities bicycle facility we should be looking at for various characteristics. So in the case of a bike boulevard, the target motor vehicle speed is less than 25 miles an hour. The target motor vehicle volume is between 5,000 and 1,500 or 1,500 and 3,000. There's no center lane or single lane one way, and so it is an undifferentiated space. And then key operational considerations are that less than 50 motor vehicles a day per peak direction at the peak hour are traveling. And so we're looking at about 50 motor vehicles in 1 hour in one direction. as being the ideal guidance for this type of treatment. So why West Washington Street is the next question. West Washington Street is an east-west parallel to Huron Street. Shown on the screen is a map of the project area and scope that stretches from Ravina on the west side down through. Well, first of all, it connects to the Huron, Jackson, Dexter intersection, where there are currently treatments, ADA treatments and bike connection treatments out there to get people connected into Ravina. Going down Ravina and then heading east on West Washington Street, going through several residential intersections and past Slauson Middle School. It passes South 7th Street, which is a major road, down a hill, across several other minor residential intersections, across 3rd Street, which is nearby the YMCA, and a new development at 415 West Washington Street, underneath the railroad trestle, and then connecting into the 1st Street cycle track at the edge of downtown. This is generally a residential street with some significant community assets, and it connects to the downtown cycle tracks. This project is being funded with a carbon reduction program grant. This is a US DOT federal grant that was awarded for the purpose of an expected reduction in pollution from a small percentage of trips shifting from car to bike due to it being more comfortable and safe to bike down West Washington. The screen shows some goals for the project that were laid out, just to build a safe, comfortable network of bike routes for people of all ages and abilities. That's more general in our plan. For this project, to provide a dedicated and convenient alternative for people riding bikes in the Jackson-Huron corridor, and to also meet latent demand for safe bike facilities in the area. This project is scheduled for our current fiscal year, and it was awarded $200,000 with a $500,000 local match. And as part of the project, we estimated that this would save 476.75 kilograms of carbon dioxide per day.
Trevor, clarification, it was a $50,000 match, not 500,000, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That is what is said, labeled on the screen. Apologies for my misreading of it. $50,000 match.
Thank you.
Thank you. As part of the downtown area circulation study, which we talked a bit about with the Catherine Bikeway, the Washington Bike Boulevard was also one of the projects that was considered and got considerable community feedback and support from that study. There was data collection that was part of that study as well, and it reiterated the transportation plan goal of an all ages and abilities bike routes that connect to downtown. There was also a concept developed for the Bike Boulevard at the time. Some of the elements are being used for this project. So conditions and considerations for West Washington Street. We need to consider volumes. As of September 2023, when the data collection took place, the segment between South 7th Street and 3rd Street had 102 vehicles at the peak hour. So as you remember before, we were looking for about 50 vehicles in the direction for the peak hour. So the existing conditions are already pretty close to what we'd be looking for as far as peak volumes go. Speed is another consideration. Vehicle speed is, and so we're looking for something that's less than 25 miles an hour. This operates largely as a residential street. Of course, one side has some on-street parking that serves the YMCA as well. Fairly slow moving. One of the ways that we have detected speed in the area is that 2 years ago, we worked with a company called Velo, who makes devices that attach to bikes and measures various things and takes video to be able to track the speed and the distance at which cars overtake cyclists. West Washington was one of the routes that had a lot of use and a lot of data recorded. Over 130 minutes were recorded during that time. And when we compare speeds with other corridors in the area, the average speed of overtakes was about 19 miles per hour, and the maximum vehicle speed for these overtakes was 24. It confirms a lot of our other experience in the corridor as well at various times of day. Crash history in the corridor is something we take a look at. Between 2017 and 2022, there were a total of 98 crashes total in the corridor. 3 were bike involved. 1 was a B-level injury. Or 3 were bike involved with B-level injuries. 1 was ped involved with no injury. The most common crashes are sideswipe and angle at the intersection with South 7th. And the image on the right is a heat map that shows the relative intensity for the crash density. And you'll see that the intersection at South 7th and West Washington has the highest crash density. Just looking at what was missed in the 2017 to 2022, I actually thought it went to 2023, but it's fairly similar as what it was before. Around 10 crashes per year, no injuries, or no pedestrian or bike involved. And again, the intersection with South 7th is the primary safety concern. Pavement conditions, something we need to look at when we're putting things down. We want to make sure that it is coordinated with other work that might be going on in the area, or to the quality of the pavement that's out there. And the pavement really ranges from poor to excellent throughout the corridor. There's an expected capital project between 3rd Street and South 1st Street on the far eastern edge of the corridor. And we need to think about that if we're thinking of making pavement marking considerations. And then finally, Slauson Middle School, which is pictured, an aerial shot is pictured on the left there, is undergoing some campus renovations from 2026 to 2028. The parking lot off of West Washington that you see at the top of your screen will be staff only in the new configuration. So it currently has 2 curb cuts. Those are both marked, X'd out with a faint red X. And one curb cut will be put in where there is an orange line there to accommodate staff parking only. So they will be drawing fewer people up to the lot than in the current condition. There will also be a bus drop-off lane that cuts through campus from 8th Street in through the residential neighborhood, eventually emptying out onto Crest Avenue. And there will be a vehicle drop-off for a private vehicle drop-off on 8th Street and Crest Avenue, pulling them away from the doors a little bit. The project approach, we have a tight timeline. The West Washington Bike Boulevard elements that we're looking to implement is using this federal grant, so we need to be able to proceed with paint and post materials to be able to reduce the amount of environmental review for this project. Safety and comfort enhancements included in this project is looking at a traffic diverter at South 7th. There is a skew and a crest near Huron Street that creates a complicated safety circumstance at the intersection with limited sight lines. We're looking to have something that bulks up that area, slows vehicles, raises attention to what's through, and filter some vehicles off of West Washington. We're also looking at some corridor reinforcement. And let me say the picture to the right is an aerial photo of South 7th and West Washington that is oriented towards the north. And there are 3 orange boxes that I have drawn in there to indicate a diverter that does not allow for vehicles traveling north up South 7th to turn left, and vehicles traveling down South 7th to turn right, or to turn left onto West Washington, and does not allow vehicles to pass through except for emergency vehicles and cyclists. We're also looking to do some corridor reinforcement to just mark this as an area that is friendly and receiving the bikes, as well as doing a little traffic calming in the area, placing mini traffic circles at the intersections of 3rd, 8th, 9th, Crest, and Ravina. Next steps for this project will be heading into design with HRC, Hubble Roth Clark, in the new year, creating designs and construction plans and some local area engagement to further the engagement that has already taken place through the downtown area circulation study. Summer and fall 2026, we'll be obtaining environmental clearance and a grant obligation, and then heading into construction in the new year. Thank you for your time and attention and hanging on with me. I'm not even sure if I made my 10 minutes. My name is Trevor Bryden again, and my name and email address, tbryden@a2gov.org, is on the screen. I'd be happy to answer any questions should people still have the time and attention.
Thanks, Trevor. Kate?
Yeah, thanks so much, Trevor. This is super exciting, and feels very European in the best possible way. So excited by the whole concept. I was wondering if you guys have approached or talked to the YMCA at all, because I mean it's a wonderful organization. I go there multiple times a week for my children's activities, but it also draws a significant amount of car traffic on Washington because of the
Hmm.
entrance to the parking lot and the kid drop off. And I don't, know if they have any opportunities to use Third Street or use Huron, but it feels like it's gonna maybe the same way you were looking at Slauson and their parking lot access might frustrate some of your goals, and just wondering if that's part of this, thought process, understanding there's not control over that.
Um, Thank you for those thoughts. And yes, the YMCA is certainly a large part of the thoughts for the context. They draw people from a long distance uh, by a variety of modes, and it's part of that part of what the existing like flow of the neighborhood is already taking was trying to be taken into consideration with thoughts about how much we wanted to disturb the existing on-street parking situation that is going on in the area versus trying to find other things to do with that space. And so your point is well taken. And going forward, we will continue to be in conversation with the Y about this project and other things to make the situation in front and around their area more safe.
Other questions, comments? All right, yeah. Like Kate said, I'm excited about this too. We don't have a lot of the mini roundabouts at all in the city yet, so I imagine this will be like the highest density of those. So I'm looking forward to seeing those put into practice. Lauren.
Yeah, on that point, because it is a new approach in Ann Arbor, can you help us to understand, maybe going back to the photo from that initial preview of what it could look like, how emergency vehicles are able to navigate through that type of corridor?
Try to pull that back up. Were you talking about this photo here? Is my screen showing?
Yes. Sure. Any of these images to help walk through to understand how it narrows how the emergency vehicles are able to navigate that context.
So the emergency vehicles will be working with the emergency vehicles. Our fire department has offered to test vehicles whenever we need them to make sure that they fit and suit the designs. And so the idea would be for the emergency vehicles to be able to go through without others is to be able to have this step wide enough that a vehicle with a typical like commercial grade you and me type wheelbase will find this bumpy to go over, but with a wider wheelbase of a fire engine, they will be able to span that and go through. We'll be working with them on the dimensions of that. With the mini roundabouts, there's space to go around the mini roundabouts in either direction, and we'll be designing them to make sure that emergency vehicles will be able to maneuver around them.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you very much, Trevor. Again, looking forward to this project. All right, moving on then. Staff report and updates. Cynthia and the team put together a comprehensive update on all of the projects. I strongly encourage everyone to take a look at that if you haven't already. If there are specific questions about anything on there, maybe now's a good time. Yeah, Pete.
I'm just wondering about an update on the removal of flashing yellow arrows or the reconfiguring of them.
So there's 3 flashing arrows on city signals left that have to be addressed. And we are putting that in for a budget impact to replace those once we finish getting the cost estimate, which we should have in January. And then the other ones that are not city controlled, there's 2 for UM and 2 or 3 for MDOT as well. And we are working with MDOT through our safety committee meeting, which is tomorrow, as a matter of fact. So hopefully we'll be getting an update from them on the flashing yellow arrows on the MDOT signals.
Thank you. Can some of those just be temporarily deactivated, like Pauline? Like, why don't we just go turn that cycle off temporarily?
It's MDOT controlled.
Pauline is not MDOT controlled.
Oh, Pauline, that one I would have to check on that history. Don't have that at my fingertips.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Again, if you have any questions come up on those staff reports, email them.
I do have one other announcement, Brett, that I just remembered that I wanted to share with everyone. Our day started out really happy. We got news from the U.S. Department of Transportation that our Safe Streets for All funding is still intact, and we do have it, and they have sent the amendment back for us to get the rest of our funding, and all of our projects will be fully funded with that almost $4 million grant.
That is great news.
So it was a great way to start the day.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, moving on then. In the interest of time, are there any liaison reports from commission members who serve on other commissions or boards? Yes, Wanu.
Hi, everyone. Just wanted to give a plug. We are still in the review period, the 63-day review period for the comprehensive plan. The comments received after December 11th, like in this period, is going to go into the January 6th Planning Commission meeting. We did get over 530 comments, so just encouraging you to go check out the comprehensive plan. We are still actively looking at comments. And to give you a kind of a very broad overview, the vast kind of salient comments that we got were on historic preservation, infrastructure, as well as basically transition zones. So I just wanted to give that plug. Again, January 5th is when it closes. So please, we look forward to hearing from you.
All right, thank you. Any other liaisons to other commission members that have any updates to share? Pete?
Was that opened up for all commission members or just?
I was just making sure that there weren't any other liaison reports yet.
Well, I can wait until we're done with liaison reports.
All right, not hearing any then, yeah, general commission member communications. Pete?
Thanks, Brett. So on Saturday, I opened 10 C-Click fix issues during a half-mile walk up to Greenview Park. 7 of these 10 were in places that the city should be clearing. Many of them were windrows of snow that were in the streets at crosswalks that had frozen into mounds that were almost just about impossible to navigate. There were also places that are not on the snow cleaning map, but are adjacent to city property. One of them is the background of my Zoom tonight. That's at the intersection of Maple and Scioto Church. It's got a city street on one side and a city park on the other. I don't know who else would clear that besides the city. Others are places that are on the map for the city to clear, but they just weren't done. That's like the sidewalk on adjacent to Greenview. So this spot behind me hasn't been touched at all this year. And it looks like we need something different or something more in order to clear this part of the sidewalk. It looks like someone tried to drive a piece of equipment there, like a tractor or something, but it's too narrow. And I guess I'm just wondering who would be asking for more or different equipment to clear this area. And also, when it didn't work to plow this, like, why didn't somebody try something else, like putting salt down? Anyway, at this point, it looks like the only way to get it cleared so I can walk up to the Ice Cube and to Wide World Sports is to do it myself. So on Saturday, I'm going to clean up whatever remains after tomorrow's thaw at this location and at the crosswalks along Scioto Church. I'm going to start at the corner of Greenview and Scioto Church, and then head west to this location at the corner of Maple and Scioto Church. I'm going to start at 2 p.m. on Saturday at the corner of Greenview and Scioto Church. Anyone who wants to join and help is welcome to, or anyone who wants to join and just tag along is also welcome. But if you have one, please bring a shovel. Last thing I want to say is that even though I'm doing this on Saturday, I want it to be clear that my expectation is for the city to clear streets and crosswalks from curb to curb in accordance with the standard. It's my expectation for the city to enforce the residential snow removal ordinance that requires clearing sidewalks from edge to edge. It's my expectation for the city to clear all of their sidewalks that they have responsibility for. And lastly, it's my expectation that the city will do some basic level of quality assurance and make sure that these previous three things that I mentioned are happening according to our standards, even when they are not reported through See, Click, Fix. So hope to see some of you on Saturday. That's the corner of Greenview and Scioto Church at 2 p.m. Thanks.
Thanks, Pete. Anyone else? All right, with that, our monthly call for agenda items. If you have any ideas, you can voice them now, or please email us anytime or contact us whichever way works. We frequently, I don't say frequently, but we do get emails and suggestions by you all, and they are very useful. So please keep sending agenda topic suggestions. All right, so with that, the next meeting will be held. Yeah, Erica.
All right, I just wanted to at least provide a little bit of feedback on the sidewalk that Pete had mentioned. I had elevated this issue as well to, or I should say, I elevated it. I think you elevated it on your own, Pete, and I followed up on it. I know that that's been communicated internally, and it is a parks responsibility, and that has been addressed. So, that's my understanding. Though you raised a number of other points, which I think are important ones as well. But I just wanted to provide that feedback while I could.
Well, thank you.
Erica. All right. So yeah, the next meeting, I believe, will be held January 21st, 2026. And like I mentioned earlier, I do really want to try to spearhead an effort to get some in-person meetings, maybe at least when the weather gets better, spring, summer, that kind of time frame. So try to hold me to that. All right, if there are no objections, then we will adjourn our December 17th, 2025 meeting. Seeing no objections, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.